Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about density today. Density is a formula that was one of the ones that you did for your vocabulary, and I would highly suggest that you put this formula on your conversion card so that you can use it. So basically what you're doing is density is the mass of an object divided by its volume, and it tells you how dense it is. So density equals mass divided by volume, and we abbreviate that as D equals M over V. So we know what mass is, we know what volume is, and so when you do density, you get a mass per volume unit. So let's go through a problem together because I think it's just really easy just to kind of dive in on these. And we're going to work some derivations of the density formula as well. So this problem tells us that a block of aluminum occupies a volume of 15.0 milliliters. So this number right here is one of my variables that I need. So I'm going to write down V equals 15.0 milliliters. And then they tell us that it weighs 40.5 grams. So that's another one of my variables that I need. So I'm going to put M, which is mass, is 40.5 grams. And then they want to know what is the density. So they're asking me to solve out for density. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write my formula. Density equals mass divided by volume. And then I'm just going to plug in my numbers. So the mass was 40.5 grams. And then we're going to divide that by the volume, which is 15.0 milliliters. And so when I plug that into my calculator and say 40.5 divided by 15.0, I'm going to get 2.70 grams per milliliter. And this would be my density. Pretty easy, huh? So every now and then, though, they may not ask us for density. They may ask us for something else. So let's look at another problem. This next problem, it reads, what is the weight of ethyl alcohol that exactly fills a 200.0 milliliter container? The density of ethyl alcohol is 0.789 grams per milliliter. So just looking at the problem, I can see right now they're asking what is the weight. So I'm looking for mass. That is my unknown. And then they tell us that our volume is 200.0 milliliter. And then look, they gave me density, and density is 0.789 grams per milliliter. Okay. So my formula we know is density equals mass divided by volume, but I'm not looking for density. Instead, I'm looking for mass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve out for M. So to do that, this is like over a 1. So I say mass equals density times volume, and that will help me find the mass. So now I'm just going to go plug my numbers in. So mass is equal to, and density is 0.789 grams per milliliter. And I'm multiplying that by volume, which is 200.0 milliliters. And look, milliliters is on top right here, and it's on bottom right here. So that means that I can cancel out my milliliters, and I'm left with grams, which is what we measure mass in. So now I'm just going to plug my numbers in. 0.789 times 200.0, and I get that my mass is 157.8 grams. So same thing, I just solved out a little bit different. So we've solved one for density, we've solved one for mass, and so now let's look at what happens when we decide to solve out for volume. So let's look at this problem. It asks us what volume of silver metal will weigh exactly 2,500.0 grams. The density of silver is 10.5 grams per centimeter cubed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and write down my knowns and unknowns. So they want to know what volume. So volume is my unknown. And then they tell me the weight was 2,500.0 grams. So that's my mass. So I'm going to write that down. And then they tell me the density is 10.5 grams per centimeter cubed. Okay. So I'm going to come over here and say density equals mass divided by volume. And I'm solving out for volume. So dV, and there's my mass, but I need to get V by itself. So I'm going to divide by D on both sides. It's just basic algebra. So now I see volume is mass divided by density. So now I can just plug in and say volume equals 2500.0 grams divided by 10.5 grams per centimeter cubed goes on top. So grams cancel out, and I'm left with 2500.0 divided by 10.5. And so your volume is 238.095 centimeters cubed. Okay, so you have a few more of these practice problems. They're all just what I call plug and chug. Just find your knowns and your unknowns, put them into the formula, and solve out for the unknown. If you have any questions, just let me know.